Levi's Youth Sports Talk. And today we have somebody from LaPorte, Texas. She was a former Texas A&M softball player, also played for the Olympics Mexican national team. And she currently, right, you currently play for Athletes Unlimited, the professional softball. Want to welcome Tori. I've been practicing your name for so long, and I probably still can't get it right. My wife been
You
trying to
got
help.
it. You got it.
Vidales. Oh,
Period.
oh
Yes.
yeah, I
Okay.
did. I
There you
did
go.
good. So everybody, welcome Tori to the show.
Hello, everyone. Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm excited. This is
Yeah.
this is always a fun time to get on and talk shop.
Oh yeah, yeah, and we got some talking to do.
Let's do it.
Let's go. So now first you want to start off talking about your upbringing and what sports you played growing up.
Yeah, I honestly played a little bit of everything. My parents were great in the aspect that they grew up ball players themselves, but they really gave us, my brother and I, the chance to try a little bit of everything. I did, anything from swimming, track, I was on cheerleading and drill. Like I tried it all, really. And
Mhm.
I fell in love with softball, and that's why it hit different because I chose it out of everything and I had the most fun playing that sport. So I think it is important to try everything because you never know what you could fall in love with or maybe what you could be good at. So you never know until you try and let the kids
Mhm.
try it all. You never know.
Okay. And at what age did you start like playing select softball?
Select, I started whenever I was Well, there was kind of like different phases for me. It was technically select, but it's not near the level of select that it is now.
Hmm.
We would travel once a year to Panama, and it was like this big thing. But that was it. Like we weren't traveling every weekend and all of that. But I started when I was about 7, and it was a local team with just girls from Laporte, girls that I grew up playing with pretty much most of my career. And then I started getting a little bit more serious in middle school, like when things start to pick up. But I would say my experience with select ball changed completely my freshman year of high school when I joined Impact Gold, and that was, I would say, more similar to what it is now, like traveling every weekend, exposure tournaments. So I didn't really get any of that until I was late middle school, early high school.
Okay, okay. And I know you played, first base growing up. Um, well, I mean, I don't know, growing. I mean, in college, you played first base in
Mhm.
college. Did you play first base growing up, or you play other positions as well?
No, actually, first base was the only position that I didn't play in my entire life, really, until I got to college. So I grew up a shortstop, was really taught the game from a shortstop's perspective. So we did a lot of like softball IQ quizzes and stuff like that in the car on the way home. So we would like figure out where we're going with the ball in this situation, if it's to your left or if it's to your right. And we would run through scenarios like that. But I would say really just learning how to be athletic helped me
Mhm.
and adapt easier to those positions. Like I played third base my freshman year of college, and then I moved over to first base. So it's just interesting being able to be a shortstop and being athletic enough and experiencing that fast pace of the game
Mhm.
more to a slower pace because I feel like shortstops just have so much to do during a game, right? Compared to a first
Yeah.
baseman. Like I'm there to make you look good, right? That's my
Mhm.
that's my job. So for me, it would be different if I was going first base to shortstop and then making it some big transition. But I think it was the perfect transition for me, learning how to be an athlete and then seeing it from the other side as well.
So, playing shortstop, growing up, what was the one thing that, how can I say it, that like a shortstop had to do the most of? Because most of the time shortstops are the leaders of the team.
Mhm.
So what were you like as a shortstop? Like in what prospect of the game did you have, like being a shortstop?
Yeah, I mean, I always consider myself more of a hitter, and, like, even growing up,
Mhm.
like, I just loved to hit so much that defense, I didn't really it was just, like, part of the game, right? Like, I had to go out there,
Mhm.
I had to learn it, and I had to do it, but I was never really like, "Oh, I can't wait to go play defense," right? I was like, "I can't wait to go up to the in the box, I can't wait to hit." So, for me, I never really focused only on playing shortstop. And I think that is
Mhm.
what made me a little bit more diverse because I wasn't focusing on one thing or the other in terms of your mindset. When you get so locked in on one, you forget to show up in the other. And being so in love with hitting in that process, it allowed me to take a break whenever I was on defense and allow myself to, like, relax and get out of my own head. So, really, for me, it was all about having fun. Like, having
Mhm.
fun out there, like you're playing some wiffle ball in the backyard, like, with my brother, and learning how to play the game with my feet, because at the end of the day, that is the only thing that you should be doing when you're playing defense, right? The glove mechanics are
Mhm.
important, but if your feet are in the right spot, then you're likely set up to make the play.
You're right. Yeah, yeah, you're right about that. And that's why they so like me, I wasn't really the baseball, softball thing. I don't even know half of the time I don't know what's going on. I don't know how some of these young girls, be doing some of the things they be doing, but they wow me a lot. So
Yeah.
so you're like looking at the game now and then when you was coming up at the select world, what difference was it for you?
So you mean like the difference in my experience versus
Yeah,
what it is now?
yeah.
I would say, honestly, there is just a lot more further along, right? There's more tech to like break down a swing. And like for me, I remember my high school experience was swinging the bat next to a little radar gun. And our coach would be like, all right, if you want to be elite, you got to have 70 plus. And we would just sit there and we would swing and swing and swing. And we would try to get past the 70. And I look back now and I laugh because I go to college, like even as like a freshman in college, we didn't have any technology. Now they've got, the Rapsodos, the hit tracks, they've got all kinds of things to track your spin and your like the blast on the end of the bat. Like there's
Mhm.
so many things that are able to track now and give you real life data. Whereas I feel like whenever I was growing up, a lot of it you had to actually think and have body awareness to fix things. And now I feel like you can look at it and visually see it, and now you're like, "Oh, okay. Now I'm gonna try it that way." So I feel like point A to point B might be a little quicker because there is technology, but it's also really important to still have that feel as a ball player no matter what. Like, feel is the number one thing. The best of the best, sometimes they can't tell you why, they just do it, right?
Mhm.
So, I think it's half feel, half mechanics. So I think you see a little bit more of the mechanic analytical side of it now, whereas before I feel like it was more body awareness and learning the terminology and the IQ part of it.
Yeah, that's a big thing, the IQ part for sure. Because if
Yeah,
you don't have the IQ, you don't know what's going on. You're not gonna succeed in softball for one thing.
exactly.
Mhm.
Exactly.
Yeah. So in high school, you played volleyball. You won the district championship in diving. How did those sports help you in softball?
That's so funny. Yeah, that's always my fun fact is, they'll say like, "What's something cool about you?" And I'm like, "Oh, well, I was on the dive team in high school." So, no, there was no reason behind that. I just honestly was not trying to go run in softball off season, and my friend was like, "Hey, uh, you want to come swim?" And I was like, "Sure, I like to swim."
Mhm.
So the first day I went to swim practice, they opened up the diving board, and I was just like, "Ooh, can I do a flip?" And they were like, "Yeah, sure." So I did a
Mhm.
backflip, and they were like, "Do you wanna be on the dive team?" And I was like, you know what? Why not?
Why
Sure, let's
not?
do
Yeah.
it." So, yeah, it was actually really fun, I enjoyed it. It definitely is a different side of your brain because, you've been doing softball your whole life, and then you come to something brand new as somebody who was a little bit older. I was like a sophomore in high school, so not that old, but, like, in terms of, like, doing something since you're so young and the repetitiveness,
Mhm.
um, jumping on that diving board was scary. I had to conquer some fears. I had to get it done, but and the mindset is similar to, like, an AB. A dive, right? You only get, I think it's 9 dives, and you have to have 1 dive in each category. And so if you don't hit your 1 dive, you have to be able to go up the next round and hit your next dive, right? You have to let go of that previous dive and focus
Mhm.
on the one that you're doing right there. And so I think that's a little bit of the mindset that you have to have as a hitter as well, where you can't be thinking about the last at bat. You have to think about this at bat and what do you need to do right now to be successful. So That mindset actually does translate over pretty well, I would say, into sports. Volleyball was great for me. I to this day, I say, "Man, I miss volleyball." It was one of those sports that allowed me to be free, and it was just so opposite of softball, right? Softball is, like, very not slow, but the games are 2.5 hours, and, it's a lot between each pitch, and you gotta go between hitters, whereas volleyball is, like, you can't even
Mhm.
take a breath, right? You're just boom, back to the line, back to the net, then you're digging a ball, like, there's so much going on, so I think it was a nice switch of pace for me and something really upbeat in the fall, and being from Texas, like, is just I feel like I just slid right in, like, it was what I was supposed to do in the fall and being very, like, athletic, like, I just loved to see what I could do athletically, I wanted to be challenged, and I always felt that at volleyball because I wasn't as good as I was in softball. So it was more of a challenge for me, and I loved that. I
Mhm.
wanted to get so much better.
Okay. Yeah, diving, well, I mean, I don't know how to swim, so I can't do that part. Let's just say, but
Come
like
on.
when you, yeah, no, I swim like a rock, like a rock. I can swim like a rock. That's
Sink.
yes, exactly, straight down. But like when you like you're diving, did you have any fear that when you take that first leap up, you would slip off the diving board?
No, actually, my worst fear was that my knees would buckle whenever I
Mm,
bounced onto the diving board or not jumping out far enough. But after you do it enough, it becomes like a little routine. And funny enough, the approach for a dive is the exact same as an approach for volleyball. So I would do left, right, left, and that's
mhm,
exactly what I would do for a spike, right? I'm going up to hit the ball. It's the exact same. So I was able to use that I've been using in volleyball and it translates over into dive. So, and then when you think about it, like when you're bouncing into that diving board, you're using the same muscles that you would use to get down in an athletic stance and get up and throw. So
mhm.
it's just funny how it all translates and like the body knows how to move. And I feel like all these sports are just highlighting a different pattern of movement. And it was scary though. The first day they made us jump, like just stand at the end and just jump and just jump. And I'm like, "Oh my gosh, like my knees are gonna buckle, I'm gonna slip," but it's
Mhm.
actually really rough. So like,
No, okay.
those ones that aren't as bouncy like at your friend's pool or whatever it is, like it's super rough, but it's
Mm,
almost like it doesn't hurt. It feels like almost rubbery, like it's kind of like gripping your feet.
okay. Mhm.
Yeah. It's
Okay.
pretty safe for the most
Oh,
part.
okay. Well, I mean, that's good to know. I mean, I'm never getting up there, but it's good
Right.
to know. And
Don't
I
worry, I
mean,
only stayed on the 1 meter, not the 3.
not the three. Yeah, I like to watch it because I like during the Olympics and stuff.
Oh,
I
it's
watch it because I
awesome.
just like to watch anything that got to do
Yeah.
with sports. And it's like, man, like it sucks that I'm watching this, and I just hope nobody fall. Like
Right, right.
that's the one thing.
You're
Like,
holding your
but
breath.
I mean, yeah, but I mean, they made it to the Olympics for a reason. At doing that,
Exactly.
so.
Exactly. They know what they're doing. They got it.
Mm-hmm. So, talk about your recruiting process and what made you choose A&M.
It's funny when I think about my recruiting process compared to a lot of people's process, it was so different. Like I feel like there was a lot more knowledge put into the actual process of recruitment, where for me, I kind of didn't realize that I was already at that age that I, could be committing or could be interested in schools or they could be interested in me. And I didn't even really think about going other places. Like, I went on a visit, to A&M, and I went to a basketball game and just toured around, and honestly, A&M hit a lot of the marks for me, it was close to home. They were in the SEC, not at the time that I committed, which I would have been happy to play in the Big 12 too, but, softball where it's at now, like, being in the SEC is obviously, like, the place to be, right? But Big
Mhm.
12 still puts in a great fight every year, and I was sitting in Coach Evans' office. Mind you, I'm 14, so like I'm making this decision for the rest of my life essentially as a 14-year-old, which is crazy. And I always wonder how I made the right decision because it was so intense, but you don't realize that at 14, right?
Mhm.
So yeah, Coach Evans basically offered me a scholarship and She was like, "You can take some time." And I was like, "Oh, well, do I need it?" Like, it was close to home, my parents could come watch me play, my
Mhm,
grandparents lived 45 minutes away in Brenham, and, like, it was just all I needed. It was all about family, I loved the tradition, and I knew that I could play, right? That's a lot of it, like, people always wanna try to go to the national championship team, but when you're honest with yourself, like, would you play? And, like, who's to say that I wouldn't? I wasn't thinking about that really at
mhm,
all. I wanted to go somewhere where I knew that I was gonna get a great experience for 4 years, and that's crazy to say because, a lot of times people say, "Well, my goal is a national championship." And yes, of course, like, that was my goal, but we hadn't been to the World Series in 10 years by the time we got there. So,
mhm,
you have to, like, know where you're at and what are the appropriate goals to make in those situations. So, for me, it was like, I wanna get back to the World Series, right? Those different goals. It's kind of like a sliding bar when it came to things in that aspect, right? Like, going to the World Series is just as big of an accomplishment to a team who has never been as
mhm.
winning a national championship would be for a team who's never won it. So, yeah, back to the original question. My recruiting process was very easy. Um, yeah, I went to a A&M camp and Coach Evans offered me, and that was pretty much it. Like, it was very cut and dry, very quick, not as drawn out as a lot of people's, but I only went on one visit and that was it. So
Mm,
I made a decision at 14 and I'm like, "Wow, good job, Tori. You did a good job."
yeah, my wife wanted me to tell you howdy.
Oh, yep, howdy.
Yeah,
Howdy
she went to
eyes.
A&M. She was an A&M graduate, so
That's
she was
right.
really excited about. Yeah, yeah. I told her I was gonna do that, but she told me I couldn't do it.
You don't have the ring.
Yeah, that. Yeah. Hey, look. Hey, I don't know how your classes was or what your major was or stuff like that, but she got a science, biology, and all that,
Oh,
and
pop off.
yeah,
Uh-huh.
I was having a headache just looking at her do homework. And so what major did you get there?
I was a agricultural communications and development.
Hmm,
Or
okay.
was it? No, it was I'm getting them mixed up. Communications and journalism, and then my minor was leadership development. That's what it was.
Okay. Okay.
Yes.
And at what age did you realize that you can play at the next level?
Which next level? Are you talking about
Oh,
college or
she
pro?
right. Yeah, hey, you right about that. All no at college, the college level. Like at what age did you
Um,
think you could make it to college?
Honestly, it was never a question about whether or not I could make it. Like, I feel like that's always the question is like, can you make it? Well, I'm like, there's so
Mhm,
many options to make it, right? You could play JUCO, you can play D3, you can play D2, D1, NAIA. Like, there are so many opportunities to play at the next level. And I don't think necessarily D1 is like be all end all. Like, what does it take to get there? Because I think playing in college, regardless, is such a huge
mhm,
accomplishment. But I would say I knew that I wanted to go play in college by like seventh, eighth grade. Like that, it was my life, and like I knew that I wanted to play in college, but it wasn't my only focus. Like my only focus was not getting to college and playing in college. Like it was having my youth and like enjoy being a kid and enjoy
mhm,
high school, and, like, yes, that was always on my mind, college and, softball, but, like, I still wanted to take time to play volleyball and do swim and dive, like, be able to take other opportunities, so I knew at a young age that I wanted to play, like, I would say 7th grade, so what is that, like, 12 or something?
mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like, 12 years old, 13 years old, but I would say it didn't really become a reality for me, like, "Oh, like, I'm gonna go commit to a college, like, this is crazy," until I was in ninth grade when I moved to Impact Gold, which I committed that following summer after my freshman year.
Okay.
So, I would say it all happened for me pretty quickly. I wasn't, like, waking up as a six-year-old and being like, "I wanna go play D1." Like, that wasn't a thing for me.
So, playing for Impact Gold, how did they, help in the decision, and how did it help, like you getting ready for the college level, playing, for high quality team like Impact Gold?
Yeah, it was honestly a huge blessing to be under Casey Jackson, who still coaches the 18U
Mhm.
Impact Gold team. And we worked a lot on not just the fundamentals of the game, but the mental aspect of it. Like he's such a great talker and a great storyteller, but man can talk and he can talk about anything. And so he would take us out to center field and he would sit us down. He'd talk about some random bowling ball that he saw rolling down the highway and somehow managed to loop it back into softball and how it should be the way we're playing the game. Rolling down the highway as a bowling ball is so much more impactful. I don't know, he got there, but it was hilarious watching him relate that back, but he is very much so, like, he can relate anything to the game, and so the lessons are all around you, right? Like,
Mhm.
everything that you're experiencing in every situation in a travel ball team, like, he will be able to relate that somehow to the game, and so thinking a lot about, situations and how to deal with teammates, how to deal with your coach, like that relationship as a coach, relationship with your parents. So we didn't only learn about softball, right? We learned about life in general. And
Mhm.
of course, on the softball side, he did a great job at preparing us. Like we had a very rigorous like warm up and base running drills and infield practice, infield, outfield in the fall. So I feel like he did a great job at knowing when to kick it up and when to kind of chill it out a little bit because we don't
Mhm.
always have to be at 100, right? So our fall was our time to really break things down, take a lot of time to dedicate to our craft, and then in the spring we're all busy with our high school stuff. So we didn't get together and do things like that. But whenever we would come back together in the summer, we would trust each other that we would all be prepared for that moment. Um, so I would say a lot of it was him, teaching us the game, teaching us the IQ part of the game as well. Like he did a
Mhm.
lot of situational stuff as well, and asking us to tell him why we thought that. It was never like, "You're wrong, this, and this." It would be like, "Okay, talk me through that decision. Like, why did you do that? What is your thought process here?" So he would let us talk through those situations, and he encouraged us to mess up because the only way to get better is to mess up through failure.
Mhm.
So that was a big thing for him. He wanted us to fail. He encouraged us to fail because he would always say, if you're not trying hard enough, then and doing it perfectly, then you're not. Or he said, if you would do it perfectly, you're not trying hard enough to get better. You're just staying at the same level.
Mhm.
So it's always another way to look at failure. So whenever I did get to college, I never felt sped up because I was so in that mode of just like, okay, how can I observe this moment? How can I like step into where I need to be mentally and physically? You already know how to play the game.
Mhm.
All it is being able to control it here and knowing that the game is speeding up. You just have to kind of turn your brain up a notch too. And then it becomes fun when you can truly relax and not think about the change so much. You just do what you do. I mean, obviously, you got there for a reason, right? The coach
Yeah.
doesn't pick you if you suck,
True that.
right? So,
Okay, okay. When you get named preseason All American, does that put pressure on you going into that season?
absolutely. I would say anybody that says it doesn't is lying. They all try to pretend that it doesn't, but obviously it does. Like we're human, and when you see that, it's
Mhm.
like, oh, okay, like I have to, perform to this level of what people expect of me. But at the end of the day, it's such a pressure to have, or it's such a privilege to have the pressure because if you had never been in that situation before, people would never expect it out of you.
Mhm.
So if you already expect me to be that good, then I've already proven myself to be that good. So why am I putting extra pressure on myself to prove something to you that we already both know?
Hmm.
Mm.
That's yes. Hey, knowledge right there, y'all.
And
Knowledge.
that's what I wish I could have told myself in college. Now it's easier because I'm a couple years removed, but yeah, I would definitely say pressure is a privilege.
Yeah, I mean, that's a great accomplishment. I can tell you that one thing to be named preseason All American, because as we know, not everybody can get that.
That's true.
So that's for sure a good thing. And then I know you hold a lot of records. Are your records still there for all the records that you got?
They are, I believe so. I haven't seen any news of anybody breaking them, so I don't know. We had, Haley Lee was coming close, I think, to the home run record, but she had 5 years she had 1 year that she had 25, which she broke the single season record, but I never broke the single season record. It was just, I got close. I was, like, 4 away from breaking the home run. Um, Megan May, homegirl, she still holds it. 69 home runs. It's
No.
awesome, I love it. I think the RBI still holds, but we haven't had anybody that's been, like, a really big hitter that stayed all 4 years. Like, some of them have been a transfer in or a transfer out,
Mhm.
or, maybe they didn't have as good of maybe a one-year type situation, like, maybe they came in freshman year and were expected to do that, but didn't. So, it just is so fluctuating, so
Mm.
who knows? I mean, it could be this year. I actually don't know if it could be, but you know what? Records are meant to be broken,
Broke
so
it, yeah.
I'm
True
like,
that.
"Come on, please, someone break it." If you
Somebody
guys are
break
breaking
it.
it, that means that our team is winning and, like, we're doing great
Mhm.
things, and we're gonna see success for the program, and, like, at the end of the day, that's what I want, is to see
Mhm.
A&M flourish, and, they're under a new staff with Trisha Ford, down in College Station, so it's fun to, like, get to see a new era of Aggie softball, and, like, other people that are not Aggies get excited about watching our team play.
Yeah, especially the haters, right? The ones that the ones that like want to see y'all lose. It's funny because that'd be the most views is the people that want to see
Right.
you lose. They don't want to see
And
you
they wanna
win.
see
They
you
want to see
lose
you lose.
from the couch. Let's say
Yeah,
that. So go ahead
yeah.
and pray on the downfall. Don't
Pray
worry,
on.
we still
Yes,
here.
exactly.
We're still
Yeah.
here.
Yeah, and I mean, softball is. I didn't think it would be as interesting as it is. When my daughter got into it, I was a basketball person. I was trying to find any kind of way I could to talk her out of playing because I, I looked at it as like I don't know what to help you with. Like I don't know
Right, right.
the first step in none of this. Right? I mean, she had a cousin that he played baseball. He helped her out, with the catching part, but as I got into it, I mean, and I realized it was nothing I can do to make her quit. So now I have to do my homework and research, and now I'm okay at certain things in
There we
in
go,
the
there we go,
sport.
and it's about growth. You and your daughter
Hmm.
can grow together, learn it
Yeah.
about the sport.
Yep. What was your work ethic like from high school to college? Like, did it change once you got to college, or was it always a work hard mentality?
I would say it stayed about the same. I mean, for me, I think the biggest thing is not on the softball field. I think it's definitely like just life in general, like going to college the first time and being so overwhelmed by being alone for the first time in your whole
Mhm.
life, usually. Like not like your parents do so many things for you that you don't realize. And so when you're off on your own for the first time, you're looking at your life thinking, I have to do what? And I have to do it by when and how much and what else and like who's gonna be there? Like there's so many things that are happening and like you're trying to live your life, have a good social life, like do well in your classes, get along with all your teammates, prove yourself to the coaches. So like there are so many things happening. So really, if you make it through your freshman year of college, like, kudos to you because it's just
Mhm.
such a hard year in general. Um, but for me, I didn't really think, like, my work ethic was challenged in any way, like, not in a way of, A&M not challenging me, but I wouldn't say that my work ethic was challenged in terms of, like, not being good enough or not showing up in the way that I didn't want or that I wanted to show up. So, knowing that I could go in early and get what I needed to do done, and then be done for the day and, like, feel like I had a productive practice, but I could also have a bad day and come in and hit and, like, know my limits. So, for me, I've always been quality over quantity girl. So if I go and I have
Mhm.
a great practice, why am I going to swing 200 extra cuts and make myself tired and swing myself into bad habits? So for me, it's like, yes, work ethic is great, but also the mental strength to know when enough is enough and know like, oh, like I did well today. Like, I'm going to acknowledge that and set it down for the day because you're not jumping leaps and bounds to
Mm,
me in one night. So
right.
I'm like, I gain more if I come back the next day, start fresh, fresh body, fresh mind, fresh eyes, instead of just running myself into the ground until like every swing in the bucket is perfect, if that makes sense.
Yep. Make a lot of sense because a lot of them think like the more you're out there, then that's good for you. When it's really like most of the time when you get tired, you're not taking
Yeah, it's
quality
done.
swings. You're not the fielding
Exactly.
is not quality rep. So once you get tired, I mean, like you said, you have a really good practice. If I'm up to it, I might go swing a little bit. But if not,
Right.
what's the point of going out there if I'm just gonna be swinging and mess around and pick up a bad habit out there just being tired.
Yeah, exactly. And I think it's different too when you're working on like a very specific skill that takes like repetition. Like, maybe you're working on keeping your elbow down and like something along those lines, or like just more specific instead of just
Mhm,
going to hit, right? Like if you're working on your
mhm,
top hand, take a few, feel it, make sure you know what it feels like understand what that feeling is when you get it right and when you get it wrong.
mhm.
That's what a lot of people forget about. Like you have to know what it feels like to get it wrong, to get it right.
To get it right. Yep, exactly. A lot of kids, they just want to go out there. I mean, not some of them go out there to get the quality rep. Some of 'em, well, I hit off the bucket. I can go back in the house now, and it's like, uh, so what did you mess up on? Oh, it
Right.
was good. Wait a minute. you not,
Yeah, if
you're
you didn't
not
mess
finna.
up, I'm like, are you
Yeah.
human? Because we
Mm-hmm.
all mess up. I
Exactly.
just hit today with my dad, and I missed like probably half the bucket.
Mm.
But it was my first day back. You have to give yourself some grace too. You gotta know where you're at the time, right? I'm not supposed to be peaking my best right now. I'm starting back into my off season. Just how it is.
Okay, okay, I hear you. Well, we sure gonna be watching. I can tell you that.
I can't wait. It's gonna be a great season.
hmm what was your welcome to college moment?
Ooh, that's a good one.
I know when you was a freshman, you hit like 20 home runs. So,
Yeah. Honestly, it's probably the clip that goes viral like at least once a month, about me hitting it into my face mask.
no, I saw that.
But what's funny is like I don't remember it that way. Like I remember thinking like it was a very defensive swing, like trying to get out of the way of the ball, and it just so happened to like pop off the bat wrong. But it's very interesting to watch it back. I think everyone else thinks that's my welcome to college moment, but honestly, I was just like I was mad that it was stuck in my face mask and I couldn't
hmm
get it out. I'm like, "No, get out." Like I'm trying to hit. The umpire tried to ring me up and I was like, "It's a foul ball. What do you mean?"
he tried to get you
Yeah,
to
cuz
three
I had
strikes.
2 strikes on that pitch, and so, if it hits you on the 3rd strike, you're out.
Mm,
But I hit the ball and then it hit me.
hmm
So I think he was seeing it as like maybe it hit just
It just
straight
went
and I
straight.
swung.
Yeah.
But it was a weird situation, but I don't even remember what ended up happening in that at bat. So who knows? It's all in the past now.
Yeah, right. You don't have to
Um
worry about that.
Oh, honestly, a good one was, we were doing individuals in fall, so we would do only like 30-minute time slots of defense. And, every day you have a different time slot because of, class schedules
Mhm,
and you have to like work around the whole team schedule and like which infielders can get this time versus this time. And then, okay, well, on Tuesdays I can do this time, but Wednesdays I can't do until like, so it's just a mess. And like I was saying earlier, like you have so many things that is happening during college. So it's like you're here, you're at nutrition, you're at class, you're at weights, you're in your dorm room, you're doing your homework. Like there's so many things happening. And I remember I finally sat down for lunch after a long afternoon. And I sat on the couch in the team room and I'm just enjoying my sandwich. And our hitting coach, he walks in, he's like, "Oh, hey, I think they're looking for you on the field." And I was like, "What?" He was like, "Yeah, they're looking for you." And I look at the time and it's, you know, 4:15 or whatever it was, and I thought our individual was at 4:45. So I'm like, I'm so early. I got time to spare. Like maybe I'll go
mhm.
do extra mobility, something before practice." And there I am just sitting there eating my sandwich, late to the individual because I got the times mixed up on a different day. So I was late to the individual that was probably 50 feet away from me. And I had to run after practice. 15
Mm,
minutes was the rule. You had to run for 15 minutes straight and just jog and time yourself. And it was miserable because I was like, I was here. Like I was
mhm.
here. I just wasn't outside. So it was frustrating for me. But I was like, I thought I was killing it, right? Like I was like,
Mm.
oh, this is so easy. And then boom, you're late.
And this was your freshman year?
Yes, first year. So I was like, oh
Oh, wow.
no.
Oh, man.
What a
You
day.
knew, but you knew you were supposed to be there. Your mind knew what was going on. Your body
Right.
was just in different time slots.
Right. I had 2 different individual time slots in my brain.
Oh, that's funny though. Like, because it's like you knew for a fact that
Right.
you was in the right place, and the right place for you
Couldn't
was
have
sitting there
been
eating that sandwich,
right.
but it wasn't the right spot.
If only, but that's definitely a welcome to college, you freshman. Definitely.
Hmm. So, what was like a typical day like for y'all during the season, and did it change during the off season?
Oh, yeah, they change a lot. So, off season, you're up early in the morning doing your workouts, like 6, 7 a.m., and then you work out for hour and a half, 2 hours sometimes, depending on the day, and then usually you go straight to class, and, like, so say on Tuesday, Thursdays, we would have weights at 6, class at 8, 8 to, like, 12:15 you had class, then you try to go to the field, you had hitting groups, and then some people had another class, or you would take that break to, eat lunch or do some homework, and then you have team practice for about 3 hours every day, and then you go home, dinner time, so you eat dinner and you do homework, and then you go to bed. And you're exhausted. But season is a little bit different. You're exhausted, but in a different way. Like obviously off season, you're working out really hard and you're pushing your bodies to the limit. Like um, I would say at a different capacity, like a lot more intensity and like go, go, go. Whereas in season, it's much more laid back on the off days. Like you want to enjoy your rest and you want to like still lift, but we would do like much lighter, much more like in season lifts. So like
Mhm.
accessory work was really big, like abs, stuff to keep us healthy rather than like building muscle in the middle of season. So that's obviously just a different part of like a training cycle. But I would say like once we got into season, your workload depending on how well you scheduled your classes. So some
Mhm.
people, the underclassmen, they would usually end up scheduling Monday a class during season. And the vets knew that you're not supposed to schedule a class on Monday if you can help it, right? Because that's your off day. So you don't want to do anything on your off day.
Mhm.
But during season, I would say we have class. So the first thing that you're required to be at is a lift, but you have 5 different time slots that you could choose from. So you just come whatever one works for you.
Okay.
And then you do your classes and then you come to practice. You don't practice as long, I would say, in season. Well, I guess you're technically practicing longer. So in the fall, at the beginning, you're doing like individual work because you can't go over 20 hours. And
Mhm.
then after that ends, you have team practice. And those are longer. But in season, I would say it depends on the coach and depends on the day and how many games you have. But usually ours were about 2 hours. But sometimes, like if you're later in the season, coach will be like, do you guys want anything? Like, how do y'all feel? We're like, we're honestly run down, batteries on E. She's like, go home.
Mm.
Like, this is not gonna help us, if we're not able to do anything.
Right.
But a lot of times we just do simple stuff like quick balls off the bat or a quick defensive set, and then we'd be done. But it's like we got good work in, quality over quantity.
Exactly. Yeah,
There we
that's
go.
always what you want. And then
Yeah.
like for y'all recovery, what were some of the things that y'all done for recovery?
We had to do cold tubs
E-
and the contrast tubs. So we have to do cold and hot. And we had to go up to our neck in the cold for 2 minutes, and then we had to go to the hot tub for 2 minutes, and then we'd have to do the whole thing 4 times. And then we also had, like, arm care recovery that we would have to do twice a week, or was it once? I don't remember, it's been too long, but, we'd have a bunch of exercises that we had to do just to keep our arms healthy and ready for season. And then try to think about what else we had. Not a lot, but cold tub and, hot tub for sure, that was, like, mandatory, and the arm care, but, of course, you could always do extra stuff like the boots, the
Mhm.
Normatec boots or, like, a massage or anything like that, but it was really on you to take care of that if you wanted that or needed it.
Okay, okay, yeah, and that's some of the things they have now, but probably 3 times more.
Oh, yeah, they I don't even wanna know what all they've got now. It's probably so much new
Oh,
technology, right?
yep,
Opens the door.
technology. Mhm. So when you were in school, that like they didn't have the transfer portal. So what's your take on the transfer portal, the good and the bad about it?
Yeah, I mean, at this point, it is what it is, like, if people are gonna use it in the best way that suits them. So, there are some people in the transfer portal, that are in a bad situation and, they're not gonna be able to love the game in the same way if they're in the environment that they're in and they need to get out, and that's the best thing for them.
Mhm,
Whereas there are other people that I feel like go in the transfer portal because they don't like the way that the coach is not gonna play them. Right? A lot of it comes down to playing time, and I
mhm,
think I'm better than this person. I should be playing. Okay, well, then prove it.
mhm,
Like, if you should be playing, prove it to me by the things you do in practice and prove it to me in the things you do in the game. If you deserved it, you would have it. And for me,
mhm,
people give up too easily now because if it was truly about developing yourself, and like I said, sometimes it's right and sometimes it's wrong. Like there are definitely people there that are working hard and are doing everything right and maybe they're just in a toxic place, not
mhm,
all coaches are great and not all coaches are bad. Like that's just the name of the game. They're humans too and not all of them are going to be the right fit for you. So, I think it's a little absurd how much you can be in and out with no repercussions. Like, I'm like, okay, well, actions do need to have consequences. You shouldn't be able to transfer like 3, 4 times without there being some kind of look at why you're doing that. Like,
mhm.
but at the end of the day, like, it's the athlete's choice. Like, it's their college experience. If you want to pick up and move 4 times in your college career, you must be rich because where are you getting that money to transfer?
Uh,
Well,
right?
NIL now,
What?
so I guess
Yeah.
it's a little bit different too. Like
Mhm,
NIL opportunities now become a big part of that too. Now everyone's kind of getting bribed to schools with NIL money, and then it's like,
yeah.
okay, well now how do we compete?
Mhm. God, there's a
So
whole bidding war out there.
yeah, it's honestly crazy. I'm like, I couldn't even get a free brownie in college, and they're out here getting $1 million. I'm like, what is happening?
Yeah, I was just
I missed school at the wrong
the
time.
wrong time. Yeah, that was one thing. That was actually my next question is to you about the NIL. For you, what do you think, Niger, sorry if I
Yep.
pronounced her name wrong,
No,
but
that's right.
she just got a whole $1 million to pitch. Now you was a hitter, a real hitter.
Hmm.
You hit the ball. Not just, some people that hit the ball sometimes. You hit the
Right.
ball a lot of times. So what you think you would have got during this NIL?
Oh gosh, who could say? I mean, things are so different now. Like, I mean, inflation at that.
Mhm.
But there's so many different aspects. I don't think I would ever probably get $1 million because I'm not out here striking everybody out, right? That would be
Mhm.
like me hitting a home run every at bat, which
Every
is
yeah.
just unlikely. But obviously, softball is a pitcher's game, right? Like you should be dominating. Like the
Mhm.
games are in your favor. Like we're supposed to fail 7 out of 10 times. Like you should be winning. Like, come on, you should
Yeah.
be. You gotta strike us out, do something. But no. Honestly, I don't know. It would be very interesting because also A&M wasn't really known as a softball school. So I don't know if things would be different. Maybe if Johnny Manziel could throw a little cash our way whenever, because he went out right as I came in. So maybe if he would have
No.
been like, "Hey, here's
Yeah.
all for the
Give me
softball
some of
team,"
those dollars
I'd be
you
like,
flashing around.
"Okay." I'm like, "Yeah, okay, cash
Yeah,
money,
buddy.
let's do it."
Yeah, Johnny Manziel changed the game, man. I tell you that much.
Oh
Oh,
yeah,
oh,
definitely
Johnny. John, jeez. Watching that documentary was pretty crazy because I mean I was actually
crazy.
living in College Station while he was going to school.
Oh,
So
okay.
yeah, so it
So you
was
got the vibes of College
yeah, oh
Station.
yeah, for sure. And I didn't live too far from the stadium, so that whole midnight yell thing,
Oh
it
yeah,
was kind of crazy
midnight yell.
hearing y'all out there making all that noise for no reason. No, just just
I'm like, "You sound like a boomer."
no, I'm a Bama fan. But no, I
Ah,
like
that's
to,
why.
I always like to mess with my wife about all that stuff. So that's one thing that's
A
our
good
thing when
rivalry.
Bama, yeah. So when the A&M beat Bama that first time with
Oh,
Menzel,
yes.
oh my gosh, I
Mike
heard it
Evans, wow.
for a whole year.
What a year. What a year.
Yeah, so when you heard, you made the Mexican Olympic team, what was that feeling like?
Honestly, it was a little bit kind of, I don't wanna say not exciting, but I had played for the team for 6 years, so
Mm,
I had been with the team before it even got put back into the Olympics. Uh, for me, it was more like we did it. Like, our team was so close as people, like, as, just humans in general. We had gone through a lot. Like, things weren't always perfect with Mexico. We didn't really have the funding, so like a lot of it was us putting it up for ourselves and trying to find food and having like very low budgets for money, like for meals in between games, and
mm,
the travel was just a nightmare. Like, there were so many things that would go wrong all the time, and like at the beginning we were getting run ruled all the time. We didn't have a good solid squad put together yet. We're still missing some very like critical pieces, and as the years went on and more of us started to really, put all of our energy into Team Mexico in the summers, we were able to start building like a really solid foundation. We ended up getting Amanda Sanchez, who became our third baseman. She played at LSU and Missouri, and then Chelsea Gonzalez. She played at Arizona State. So like at second, so we were able to like get a really solid foundation on the infield, and that relationship carried us so far into that. So I think it was less about the actual moment of making the roster than it was about like being there and realizing, like, looking at them and being like, "We did that. Like, we did that together." And that was a very strong moment for us, very powerful because we had been through a lot to get to that point, especially through
mm,
COVID and all the delays and everything for the Olympics itself. So
mhm.
being able to make it and dealing with some coaches, it made it a lot tougher, but we did it and we did it together, and that's the
Mhm.
important thing.
Okay, okay. So you was doing all the traveling while the whole COVID thing was going on.
Well, we didn't travel as a team, we were all separate. So during this time we
Uh-huh.
were about to go on our spring tour,
Mhm,
before the Olympics and go play, like, a bunch of colleges and stuff around the area, and then COVID hit, and a lot of those got canceled, obviously. But
mhm.
then we still had to train on our own. Like, we got sent the little blast sensors, and we would have to get, like, a specific amount of swings, like, per week. And I'm in my garage with 1 bucket of balls and a net and a tee, so it's like nothing's open, you gotta do what you can do, but
Mhm.
we made it, we made it.
You made it, yeah. Yeah, that was a crazy time of the year. I can tell
Crazy.
you that much. I was looking at the Tyler. He's the one. Tyler was the one that got Torres was the one that got us connected. He said you was being modest about the whole NIL thing.
No, I honestly have no clue how much I would make. Honestly, it's who knows? Like, who knows at this point? It
Mm,
was so long ago, like, how can you even say? I
yeah.
graduated in 18, so it's been a long time,
Mm,
long time.
okay. What type of leader would you say you are?
I would say vocal. I would like to say vocal. I don't know if my teammates would describe me as vocal. Honestly, I think I just like to keep everyone in a good mood. Like,
Mm,
I like to make sure, like, everybody's cool. Like, if you're too hot about something, like, I'm gonna make you try to, like, laugh, get back down to where your level is of, like, being chill and, your homeostasis, like, where you sit at the game, like, where you play your best. Like, I'm gonna try to get you that to that level. So, like, if you need someone to piss you off to get really locked in, like, I'll piss you off. Like, if you want me to say something about your mom, like, I will, but if you need me to, like, calm you down or be like, "Hey, like, why are you throwing your helmet? Like, that's not you. Like, who cares about that last AB? Like, I can't
mhm,
even remember what you did in your last AB. Like, can you remember what I did? No. Okay, cool. So then we've settled it. You're only thinking about yourself right now. So, like, quit being selfish. Like, shut up.
mm,
Get back to it, you know? Like, trying to make them laugh, like, trying to make them get out of their own head.
mhm,
Um I would say in college, it was a lot different. I felt like I had more pressure on me, so I felt like I had to, like, do everything right and, like, be, like, the stereotypical perfect leader and, like, the captain-esque person. But now as I've gotten older, I think I've realized, like, definitely where I sit more in the pocket of, like, making sure everybody's good, bringing them back down to where they need to be, and making sure we're, like, doing it together. Because once that energy is set and you're able to feed off of each other, and you're all working towards the same goal selflessly, and that's the
mhm,
key, selflessly, then that's when I feel like you can truly find that harmony. But when everybody's worried about me, 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 then it becomes not a team, it becomes a hostile environment because everybody's
mhm.
pissed about getting out or, everybody's mad that they missed the ball or, whatever it is. Everybody gets mad about something in their game. So just try to keep everyone level.
Okay, okay, that's good to know. So we have a question here from Alicia Tori, Tyler wife. Said going back in a perfect world, would you change anything about your journey?
Ooh, honestly, no, I don't think I would. I feel like obviously it's so cliche and cheesy, but like everything happens for a reason and every situation that I've been in has helped me become who I am today. And without those experiences, who knows where they would have come from or even if I would have gotten to experience them. So to change anything would mean, taking away parts of my life that I'm glad are there. So they taught me about myself and if it didn't go my way, what would I want? Like if it doesn't happen the way I want it to, what can I express that I would want it to do? Or like I feel like a lot of it is up to me to make the change and the growth from those mistakes or things that maybe I wouldn't have chosen. That's the way they would have gone, but, no, I don't think I would change anything because I mean, I look back and I'm like, I'm proud of what I've done so far and where I'm at now. So, I'm thankful for all the experiences and all the decisions that I made and everything
Mhm.
leading up to this moment.
Okay, okay, nothing wrong with that. How did you mentally prepare for big games?
That's a good question. I don't really think I did. I
Just go
I
out there and
honestly
play.
was just like a flip the switch, like, turn it on, like, let's go type player. Like,
Mhm.
I didn't need some big routine of, I have to listen to this song and eat this meal and drink this Gatorade. Like, it was like, all right, I'm hungry. Let's eat something. It was just like, oh, I'm thirsty. Okay, let me grab a drink. Like, oh, I need a snack before the game and I don't
Mhm.
normally do that. Give me a snack. Like, I just do wherever I'm like, wherever the wind takes me, I'm like, there I am that day because every game day is different for me. But let's see. Honestly, just trying to get warm in the cage, just make sure I'm barreling up the balls and focusing on myself. Because when I start thinking about everything else, that's when it gets really big. So just focusing on myself, what I can do. That's really it. Because I can only control me.
hmm Yeah, that's right. A lot of people like to try to control everything around them except for themselves.
That's right.
hmm
Control the controllables.
Yeah, yeah. You need to control yourself. That's it. A lot of people worry about the wrong things. I can tell you that
That's
much.
right. That's
Which
right.
Tyler's crazy. What has been your biggest challenge in your career, and how did you overcome it?
Ooh, um, I would say probably like coming out of college into pro ball and figuring out how to be a successful pro. Like there's so much that goes into college softball. Like you're with your teammates every single day and you're working towards the same goal and you're with each other in physical presence day in and day out, right? And when you're a pro, it's a very lonely experience. You don't have anybody to practice with unless you're just lucky enough to live in a place where you're with other pros or at least people that have the time during the day because depending on the job that you have, you may not be hitting at normal hours or you may not be able to have time to do field work when there's no lights, you know? So
Mhm.
the biggest thing for me is definitely finding a balance between training and what I can do, like workout wise and hitting and, getting my mechanics in and just, figuring out how to live as an adult as well. Like it almost starts over when you're a freshman in college, you're at the bottom of the totem pole, then you finally work your way up to senior year, you're the big dog, like you know what's going on, you know that what's happening, and then you turn around the next year, you're a freshman in life all over again. And you're like, wait, I thought I just got past that. So it's like you're finding yourself in a new circumstance where you're like, what is happening to me right now? Like
Mhm.
this is what I wished for when I was a kid, like, I wanted to be grown this bad, and now look at what it's doing to me. Kinda like you wish away your childhood, it'll never get better.
Mhm. Yeah,
Enjoy
exactly.
your childhood.
Yes, yeah, yeah. That was one thing that a lot of us said too. I can't wait till I'm grown.
Right,
Now we
right.
grown, and it's like, oh my goodness, this
Yeah,
what it
it's
was
like, "Never
like.
mind."
Yeah,
Yeah.
listen, can we go back?
Right, "Can I tap out?" "Mom, I'll
It's
follow your rules, like, just
yeah,
let me live here."
yeah. It was like it's funny that you said right. You go because I mean you're in high school. You go from freshman on up to senior. Then when you get to college, you got to go back down to freshman. Work your way back up. Then in
Yep,
life, work your way back up. And it's like, man, I thought once, like you said, once I get up here, I needed to stay up here. I didn't want to go back down
right.
there. Why I got to go back
Exactly,
down there?
exactly, but it's life, right? You don't have the experience until you go through it, so, gotta go through
Hmm.
it.
Yep. So, how do you balance training, games, and personal life as a professional athlete?
Well, it's tough. I'm not gonna lie, it is tough, especially because most of us have other jobs. So, like for me
Mhm.
personally, I work in the spring as an analyst, so I'm working and training at the same time. So, like, I have to have all the knowledge on these teams, watch a lot of softball, and then at the same time, be preparing myself for softball, getting ready in the gym, and making sure I'm, hitting and fielding and doing all these things. So, it is tough to balance it, but I think the biggest thing for me is just finding a schedule and sticking to that schedule. So like blocking time off to be like, okay, this is my gym time, this is going to be my hitting time, and then as soon as I do that, like I'm going to come home, eat lunch, shower, do whatever I need to do, and then start prepping, and then have like a system that I'm able to get that done. So a lot of times it's harder than it seems because life pops up, right? You have an
Mhm.
appointment that you got to schedule and it can only be on this day, and then you got to miss your workout on this day, do it a different day. And so and then to add on top of that is travel for me because I travel to work. So it's like, oh, well, I'm not in town on this day, so I got to go here. And so it's just back and forth and finding what fits for you, and really also finding people that you can do it with because that's a big thing too. Luckily for me, I've got a few friends that live in the Houston area that we can train together. So that's very, very nice. Something that I haven't had my past few years as a pro. So big, big, great off season coming for me.
Oh, nice. That's good to know. Yeah, right, that you
Yeah.
have somebody that you can train with because like I know like like in the Athletes Unlimited, like y'all don't have actual like coaches. It's like
Yeah.
just captains, right? And I'll just have captains and y'all switch teams a lot. So how does that like work that that y'all switch team? Like what was the how can I say it? What was the take? Like how did that come about? Switching teams and just playing with different people, like pretty almost every game.
Yeah, every week we would switch,
Every
into a new
okay.
team and have, like, a fantasy draft, essentially. It
Mhm,
came about because our co-founders, John Patricof and Jonathan, Soros, wanted to bring something new to the space that people hadn't seen yet, and they realized that a lot of college softball fans were fans of specific people, not necessarily
mhm,
specific teams. So then they, had the thought process of like, okay, well, let's make them all individuals and play for individual points, but still make winning and as a team important. So that's how the whole idea came about with the leaderboard and giving more points to game wins and inning wins than anything really helps you when you zoom out. The whole aspect of the league is win as many games as possible, whatever it takes. And a
mhm,
lot of people initially look at it and think, "Oh, well, it's points. It's very selfish. It's very all about me." And I'm like, "Well, no, like because I could hit, 3 singles in a game and that's only 30 points. And I could win the game and that's 50 right there." So it's all about, and you accumulate the inning wins too. So learning that the game was all about the inning wins and then doing whatever it takes to win the game. And like when you boil it down to it, like that's the main objective of softball in general is
mhm.
win the innings and then win the games, right? Score more points than they do.
Right.
And that's what we did. So it was very fun. It was a very eye-opening experience, especially the first year in 2020 when we had no audience. It was only cameras and it was just us on the field. And we were playing like it was backyard baseball. Like it was just so fun. We were so free and it was helping us enjoy the game again and realize like, oh, this is fun. Like,
Mhm.
even though we're adults and like we're grown-ups and we're still playing this game, like we're playing a game. Like let's have fun. Like let's enjoy the time. So it's been a journey, but AU has been awesome. And getting to switch teams allowed me to get to know more people. So
Mhm.
that was the I think one of the best parts is getting to play with and against people that you've played against your whole life.
Right. So, like, how is it scored? I know you said 50 points for winning a game, few singles.
Mhm.
Like, can you get points on the defensive side as well?
No, it was only offensive side. So,
Okay.
you get points for anything you do at the plate, and then you get points for an inning win and a game win, and then, at the end of each week, whoever has the highest amount is the captain, and then they draft their
Mhm.
teams for the week.
Okay. And when you draft, you going by, okay, let me look at this leaderboard.
No, not necessarily because somebody could be, popping off in the box and their team may just not be winning. So
Okay.
maybe they're not getting as many points as a team, but they're still winning a lot of points individually. So
Mm,
it could be off balance. Like it's a lot of, stats. It's a lot of information that you're taking in from the games of just, who's been doing what and
mhm.
what did I like about that game and seeing behind just the results because there's a lot more that happens than just what the results are telling you.
Okay. Okay. So, yeah, it just, in other words, it make you really pay attention to the game.
Oh,
You know?
so closely. All 59 people, you got to know them.
Oh, wow. Well, that could
Yeah.
get that. Oh my goodness.
It's a lot of people. Yeah, you gotta, like, really keep tabs in your brain, like, "Okay, week 1, game 2, she was on orange team, she kept throwing inside, and she was successful, so we have this inning and this inning, we're gonna attack the inside pitch." So it's like being able to recall that information from week 1, and you're in week 4, and that was the last AB you had against her. Like, that's a
Oh,
lot of,
yeah.
like, time in between
Hmm.
those to be able to pick back up and be like, "Okay, what did she throw? What did I do? How does it work?" Thankfully, we have film, so we can go back and watch, but, on the fly, you gotta remember those things of in order of, events that they happened, or at least
And you
try.
can't, and it's like when you're done playing, you have to sit there and watch. You're a player, good teammate, a scout,
Yeah. Yeah, yeah,
all of those
legit,
things.
legit, it's so much, well, that's why pro is so hard because you are so many things, and you don't have,
Hmm.
like, a coach being like, "You need to do this, you need to do this, you
Right.
need to do this." It's like, "Do what you need to do to be ready," and it's like, "What do I need to do to be ready?" You're like, "Okay, got it," and then you're like, "Okay, what do I need to do?" Let me
Right.
figure it out.
That's funny. You need to be right. Wait, whoa, wait a minute. Can
Yeah, right.
somebody remind me quite quick?
Right, like, "Okay, should I go do infield or should I go hit?" It's like, "Just tell me what to do."
That's funny. That's real funny though. But I'm pretty sure it's a lot of fun for, like you said, for y'all to be out there playing with against everybody and on the same team as everybody, all the
Yes.
different, attitudes and everything.
Oh,
But
yeah. It's a learning process too, like, that's another thing in college, like, sometimes you don't like your teammates and you gotta play with them, you gotta
Mhm,
figure it out, and that's the same in pro, like, you're not gonna be best friends, like, a lot of times people think just because you're on a team together, like, everyone's besties and, like, super close, and sometimes that is the case, and sometimes it's just your coworker. Like, you got
mhm,
a coworker, I got a coworker, like, it's all the same, you just happen to watch us on television doing athletic things, whereas you may be on your computer talking to them in a Google Teams meet?
mhm.
It's all different, but it's the same.
Yeah, y'all for real. You right. You were 100% right about that. Yeah. What are some of the most important lessons you've learned during your time as a professional softball player, both on and off the field?
I would say just, like, off the field life in general is, like, your way is not always the only way or the best way. Like, there's a lot of other ways to think about things, and, like, somebody's life, the way they think about things is shaped by what they've been through. So,
Mhm,
obviously, somebody else that's been through a different life than me is gonna have a different opinion, and doesn't mean theirs is wrong, but, growing up, I was always like, "No, it's this way, like, this is the way because that's the way I learned, or that's the way I knew how to do it." And so, becoming a pro and seeing so many people from different, walks of life and different places. I've played with people across the world, and like they don't do everything the same way we do, but they're one of the best, well-known countries for softball, Japan.
mhm,
So learning that my way is not the only way, and like we're all different. We all have different things to contribute. And so, opening my mind up a little bit more to not be so like straightforward focused on this one way, and like being open to other experiences because maybe we're saying the same thing, we're just using different terminology.
yeah.
So it's like really getting to the core of like, okay, what are we talking about here? How does this relate? Like, tell me more. Like, if I don't agree or if I do agree, I'm like, okay, tell me more. So
Mhm,
learning how to use that on and off the field has been really helpful. Um, on the field, I would say not taking everything so serious. I feel like in college a lot, it was like very like I was prepared and, like, I felt like it was life or death, and now I feel like as an adult, I can look at the game and be like, "Okay, yes, we lost in a walk-off, but also I'm playing a game for money."
mhm.
Like, I'm still getting paid, like, I'm like, "Yeah, I lost, that's terrible, and, like, I hate to lose," but at the same time, it's like, we're playing a game, a children's game? So it's like, how
Mhm,
can you really like, get that worked up about it in the grand scheme of life. So, like, learning that I didn't need to be so serious about it all the time allowed me, I think, to free myself up a little bit of, feeling so locked in or feeling pressure or feeling, a lot of the feelings that you feel during a softball game, like releasing all of that and just being able to be like, "Hey, all right, let's swing, let's throw, let's hit, like let's do all the things that we do every single day, this time just with an audience."
mhm. Right, yeah.
So
So being
shifting my mindset.
okay, okay. Being an All-American, what was that feeling like once you got named to your first All-American team?
It was great. I remember the moment. I think freshman year was an interesting one because, like you mentioned, like I had a lot of home runs, good
Mhm.
average, couple RBIs. Like I thought I was a shoe in for it,
More
but
than
I
a couple.
also I also played third base, so that's a different position you're looking at entirely. Like there's some third basemen that could have blown me out of the water defensively, and they hit either just about the same or if not better. Like Jessie Warren is one of my great friends now, and she was a beast at third base. Like she's won Defensive Player of the Year 3 times in AU alone. So she can do her thing,
Mhm,
but she's also a great hitter and like can really hit for power and average. So it's just funny when you look at it. It all boils down to who's in the running and were they healthy and did they play the whole year. So my freshman year, there was a girl that was hurt for most of the year, came in at the end, got really hot, and sent Alabama to the World Series. And I'm under the impression that she edged me out at the end because A&M, we didn't go past regionals, and they went to the World Series. And like
Mhm.
she hit that big hit, she had that big grand slam, sent them to the World Series. So in my head, the story that I tell myself is that I lost out on that to her freshman year, but who knows? I could have not even been in consideration or like not even on the list. Who knows what would have actually
Mhm.
happened? But so when I won it my sophomore year, I remember we still only made it to regionals. We were already out by the time all the awards came in, and I was on the couch at home watching the World Series, and I got the text from our SID. He was like, "Congratulations!" And I'm like, "For what?" Because that was just all he sent, and he was like, "Congratulations, All American." And I was like, "What?"
Mm.
And then he told me, he was like, "Yep, this is about to release." And he sent me the press release. And so I was like, "Oh my gosh." I remember just like sitting on the couch crying. I'm like, "Oh my God, I did it." Like, this was
Mhm.
my goal that I set for myself the first day I stepped on campus. And to be able to be rewarded and still have more years to play, like, that's the dream right there. So
Mhm.
being able to get it not only once but twice is such an honor, and like knowing that it's gonna be in the record books forever. Nobody can ever take that away from you.
Yeah,
So
nope.
it's a lot of hard work and dedication that went into that, and I'm glad that, we get to see the benefits of that hard work by that award. So it's
Mhm.
it's honestly such an honor.
Yeah, that's well, congratulations for those
Thank you.
honors. Yeah. Like cuz like my daughter, she's always kind of been known as a hitter. She
Mhm.
was 8 when she hit her first home run. So she's 12
Nice.
now. She's hit 6. So, she take pride in hitting. Let's just say
Mhm.
that. Cuz at first she wanted to do the whole pitching thing. And I was like,
Don't we all?
yeah. And I was
We
like,
all go through our phase.
yeah, that was not a good phase because I was like, oh man. So
'Cause
we
you had to
went
be the
through,
catcher, huh?
yes. Yes.
My dad's the
You
same
know,
way.
yeah, and
He's like, pick one."
yeah, exactly.
I'm
Like,
like,
okay, we want to pitch
"Fine,
or we want to
I'll
hit.
hit."
Which one you want to? Yeah, which one you want to focus on the most? I can
That's
help you
right.
more with the hitting part. With the pitching, if it's coming right here,
Yeah.
is good. No, I don't know
If it's
nothing
at the
about the
shins, I'm
mechanics.
out.
Yeah, and I didn't want to have to buy no catching gear and all that other stuff either. So so it was best that we just get
Oh.
this tee in this net. It's a very good
Yep,
investment, and
that's
let's just
true.
hit. Let's just hit,
That is true.
Yeah. So and it's a lot easier for me to learn. The pitting drills is a whole lot easier for me to learn than
Oh,
pitching drills.
a lot easier, a
Yeah.
lot easier.
Hmm.
Well, I shouldn't say easier because it's easy to understand, hard to teach.
Mm.
Hard to
Hmm.
teach,
Yeah, yeah, I don't know.
especially when they're not vibing with the way you're teaching it.
Teaching, yes, because I don't know what I'm talking about.
Not you necessarily, it just meant in general, but yeah, it's harder to learn in the sense of, like, there's so many things that are going on, but also pitching too, like, both.
Mhm,
It's softball is such a specific skill. Like,
mhm,
I feel like basketball, like, not everyone can dribble well, but, like, most people can just dribble. I'm not dribbling around people or anything. I could dribble and shoot and make a basket, but, like, what are the odds that somebody's gonna hit a pitch coming at you 65 miles an hour the first
mhm.
time they see it? Probably not very high.
Yeah,
So it's more of a skill specific sport in terms of, like, you have to spend a lot of time doing it to even make it happen, and then on top of that, make it look good.
mhm. Yeah,
A lot of
nah.
time.
Yeah, she picked the right thing, let's just say.
Yeah, there you
She
go.
picked the right
It
thing.
all worked out.
How much
It all
did
worked out.
you've always been a hitter, 65 total home runs throughout your college career. How much did you work on hitting throughout your career from I mean, let's go when we go back from high school on until now. Like how much do you work on hitting?
Well, I mean, you're always working on it. I feel like practicing wise, it was always it varied, from week to week, whatever I had going on. Like I said, I played a lot of other sports. So
Mhm.
honestly, whenever I had time, like when I was in season, I wasn't in the cage, or when I was in off season, like I wasn't in the cage every day, like hitting buckets. Like I was enjoying being a kid and being athletic and doing everything else, and then when it was came down to softball time, like, it was softball time. Like, we were working on softball, we were
Mhm.
doing all these things, like, my attention wasn't always 100% on softball, even when I was in high school, because I knew that, softball time would come, and that right now, volleyball was my focus, and I was enjoying that, and I was, moving my body in different ways, preparing my mind in different ways, and so by the time I got there, then it would be like, okay, in the fall, we would have really long practices, and on Sundays, that would be like not my only work, but like majority of my work would be then. And then other things that I would work on would just be like small drills throughout the week. Like I wouldn't be having a
Mhm.
full practice. And just like it would be like one bucket, like one bucket of this one drill to feel this certain thing. And then I'd call it a night. But during when I wasn't playing, like I wasn't obsessive over being in the cage and doing it, but honestly, I do think that a lot of that comes from, like, my body awareness when it comes to my swing. Like, I know my swing very well, and I work with my dad, so, like, I have a free hitting coach whenever I need him. So, knowing, how my swing works, having my coach, like, one phone call away,
Mhm.
and doing what I need to do when I am doing softball makes it a lot easier for me to get into that mode and be more laser focused on this one thing rather than trying to fix everything in like the span of an off season.
Okay. Okay, that's
So,
that's good. That's good to know.
yeah, but hitting is definitely a main focus. Like in college, we would have hitting groups and then for like an hour and then in practice we would do splits infield and outfield and we would just like split one would hit one would do defense and then we would change so we would end up having probably like 3 hours a day hitting which was too much for me
Mhm.
personally because I would hit myself into bad habits
Mhm.
but we swung a lot.
Okay, so a good thing is, not only not to go out, you don't have to go out every day and swing the bat. You can go out one day and just work on certain drills. One day this drill, work on this drills, fix this, and then go to the next one. Let's fix that, and then put it all together. Maybe that following day after that.
Yeah, that's right, and that's if you're someone who can fix things quickly. Right?
Okay.
Like, if you're someone that needs to do it over and over and over and over and over again, then do that. Like, if that's what works for you, then go for it. But
Hmm.
for me, I have a lot of body awareness and like I'm not a numbers person, I'm a feel person. So like if I feel it a couple times, I know what that feels like now and I can always get back to that. And it's finding different cues that work for you that'll help you get to a certain position or a certain feeling that helps you get, you know, the right like mobility move, right? Like a mechanical standpoint. So it's going to be all personal. So I don't want somebody to think that my journey is going to be exactly the same as yours. Like it's all going to be different. You got to find what works for you
Hmm.
and believe in that method. Like don't want to do my method when it doesn't work for you. You got to
Right.
do your method and make
Hmm.
sure it works for you.
No, they're gonna say it worked for Tori. It gotta be able to work for
Right.
me.
Yeah, but we may have different skill sets. Like
You're right.
you just got to know
Hmm.
your strengths and know your
Yeah.
weaknesses as well.
No, I agree with that. I usually ask, a question like, what could you have done better, in high school to help
Mhm.
you in college? But you went to college and you did pretty good as as that bio stated. But if there could have been one thing that you think you could have done better to get you ready for college, what would it be have been?
Mm, One thing to help me get better for college. Honestly, like I feel like I took care of my business in high school. Like I did everything that I could. I was working out on my own outside of school. I was, taking care of my grades. I felt ready for college, honestly. Like I knew that
Mhm.
I was in a good spot. I would say one thing that I would change in college would be speaking up a little bit more as a freshman.
Mm,
And, like, I just kinda, like, let my play talk for itself, like, I wasn't trying to lead the team in terms of, like, "Hey, guys, like, we can do this," like, like, "Believe in yourself," like, I was like, "Alright, well, I'm gonna do my thing, like, do yours." Like, it was
mhm,
just kind of like that, and a part of that is, like, being young, but there's also a part of me that doesn't ever shut up in that sense, like, I am very vocal and I'm very, you know, outward outward presenting and, like,
mhm.
I don't keep my thoughts to myself, basically, and and so I should have, found a way to channel them more, like, into the team freshman year instead of being so quiet and feeling like I couldn't speak up because I was a freshman. Because I think
Mm,
people respected me for the things that I did bring to the table, even though I was young.
mm. Okay, okay, yeah. That's is I think that's but it's like kind of probably you probably was like, well, I'm a freshman. Maybe I shouldn't say this. Maybe I shouldn't say that.
Yeah, especially when it's, like, the polar opposite of what the team is saying, and you're like, "Well, I'm not gonna be, like, the only one to be like, 'Well, actually, you all are wrong, and this is how it should be, and we shouldn't give up,' and, like, all these things." Then they're like, "Shut
Mm.
up, freshman." You're like, "Okay, got it. You're right, I'm dumb." Like, "What?" But, like, now, I would've been like, "No, you guys are all wrong, like, what are you thinking?
Mhm,
This is the wrong mindset," like, but you gain that confidence as you get older, so I feel like knowing what I know now, I can say that, but as a freshman, I was just like, "I'm just gonna play softball and let the rest fall into place."
mhm. Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, it worked out pretty good. I mean,
Yep, yeah, there you go, there you go.
what was your favorite pitch to hit, and what was your least favorite pitch to hit?
Um, I would say maybe a rise ball is my favorite. Just because it's already elevated, I don't gotta
Mhm.
do much to get it up out of there, but, yeah, it's just I like to say my best quality is my hands, like, I have very quick hands, and I can get on plane pretty easy. My least favorite, I would probably say drop ball, just because it's the opposite. It's a little
Mm,
bit harder to get down there than it is to stay upright. So, yeah, definitely rise and drop.
okay, hey, nothing wrong with that. I
That's
know
right.
earlier you had said something a while back. You said something about I think one of your teammates they know how to hit power and then hit average. Like,
Mhm.
can you like explain like the difference in those?
Yeah, I mean, you have to know that you can't go up there swing for a home run every single time. You're gonna have a lot of zeros in your batting average if that's the case. And knowing like when the moment is right. So for me, whenever I think hitting for power and average, like I'm just trying to get a barrel on the ball. Like that's really my whole goal is find a barrel and good things happen. I personally believe in the backspin and getting the ball to rise as it gets further away from you. Those are
Mhm,
the balls that usually land in the gap and that get you some time to run the bases. So I always say like shoot for doubles, end up with a home run because doubles are just really or home runs are just doubles that were hit well. Like you hit a double well, but a home run is like, oh yeah, okay, now we're on it, but if your goal is to hit doubles, you'll run into home runs, but if your goal is home runs, you're probably not gonna run into many doubles.
mhm. Right, I
So,
mean
if
pop
you're
ups.
finding that rhythm, right? So, if you're finding that rhythm and that perfect contact point, like, yes, you can hit for both, but also knowing that, there's some situations where like, specific situation on the bases don't call and your situation at the plate, like what count are you in? Like you may not get a ball to hit out, right? Maybe you're just trying to stay alive in that at bat. Maybe you're just trying to poke one through the right side. So knowing when you can win your battles and when like you're probably not going to get that great of a pitch, but you always got to be ready for it because sometimes you
Right.
might.
Hmm.
And that's half the battle too is picking the right pitch.
Okay. What has been your most memorable moment since playing softball?
Ooh, there's 2 that I always say come to mind. My first one was 2017. We went to the World Series for the first time. We won game 3 on Tennessee's field to go to the World Series, and that was all of our first times going, and 10 years since our coach had been, so it was a really special moment because we were also ranked lower, like, or seated lower, so it was just like an upset, and it was on their field, first time in 10 years, so it was a big deal, so that was we got to celebrate too, so it was pretty sick. Second, I would say qualifying for the Olympics,
Mm,
in Canada. We beat Canada, who again, we were ranked below, and we kinda came out as an underdog story, and, like, everything went right for us that game. Like, every call that you could get went our way, like, every ball that fell was our way, like,
mhm,
fair or foul, didn't matter, it always, like, helped us, and we were like, "This is our game to win," and we won. Excuse me, we won the game. My parents were there at the game, and I just remember hugging them and being like, it all paid off, like, everything paid off, like, all the hard work over all of these years, like, I'm going to the freaking Olympics, and, like, seeing them so emotional made me emotional because I know what they sacrificed to get me
mhm,
there, so having that moment come full circle, and then, of course, them being there as well, it was a special moment for me, and celebrating with my team, and everything we had been through that f thus far, and getting to that moment, it was like, "Ah, yes, like,
mm.
we did it." It was just so proud of us and, like, such a moment, I'll never forget it. It was great.
Mhm, yeah, that's some very good moments, I can tell you that much.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
some
that's right,
that's
that's
some
right.
not only is it good moments,
Some
that's
people will
some
never get to experience.
exactly, that's some dream moments for some people.
That's right.
Some
They
people.
are. They really
Mhm.
are.
Yeah, to be then to how does it feel to celebrate on someone else's field?
Oh, that's so funny, that's such a guy question too, I feel like. Honestly, I was like, I kinda wish we were at home just because all your fans are there celebrating with
Mhm,
you, and a lot of them have been, season ticket holders and been there for all of the games that season. But our parents excuse me, I'm a yawning machine over here. Our parents were all there celebrating, so that was, top tier for them to get to celebrate and, like,
mhm,
knowing that their kids are the ones that did it, like, that's gotta be such a great moment as a parent, but, their section of the crowd was just going crazy, and it was just kinda quiet, like, everywhere else because all the Tennessee fans are, like,
mhm, mhm.
pouting that they didn't win, and of course, like, you're sad, but for us, it was so quiet that it was like but we were so focused on us that it didn't really
Mhm.
matter where we were celebrating, like, we were just so excited and, throwing our shirts and hats on and all of that, so it was just a fun moment overall. I'm like, "I don't even care where it was, just let me do it again."
Let's celebrate. That's it.
Right, right.
So, like you're the ESPN SEC analyst. w- How does it feel? First, how does it feel to be an analyst for ESPN and SEC? And what was the process of you getting into that role?
Yeah, I mean, it's great. I love being an analyst of course, softball is, my favorite sport. So to be able to talk about it as a job is amazing. And not a lot of people have that opportunity. So for me,
Mhm,
I, of course, would be honestly nothing without broadcasting on the SEC. Like in terms of making it this far and the level of games that I get to call. Like
mhm,
I'm calling the best of the best games that we've
mhm.
seen. Like ESPN are usually top ranked matches.
Yep.
SEC, of course, every team in the conference is huge. So getting to call that and being around surrounded by such great softball and such great athletes all the time, I feel like just levels up a piece of me too. Um, but yeah, the process was kind of quick, but also kind of short. Like, I worked for 12 Man Productions during college, doing broadcasting for, other sports and just learning how broadcasts work in general. And then after I graduated my senior year in 2018, the next year they had called me and I had met like some of the ESPN people throughout the years working for 12th Man and I told them that I wanted to be an analyst and so after I graduated, I got a call that next January to ask me to come audition, and I came and auditioned, and then I got offered the position, so it was very quick, like, it
Mm,
happened, like, bang, bang, bang. I was hired, like, within a month, um, and it was all because I, worked for 12th man in school while I was still playing and, like, in school and being an athlete, doing all these things. I did both at the same time and was able to meet the right people, network, and let them know what my goals were and be able to follow up on that when they gave me the opportunity. So I'm so happy. I love it. I love being an analyst. It's so
mm.
fun.
Yeah, you can't. You can never run out of words when you're.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just like so many plays, so many people. It's like you never run out of things to say or topics to bring up because they're just so good. You could
Hmm.
talk about it forever.
Yeah, yeah. How do you prepare for like when it's your turn? They tell you, which games you have to do. How do you prepare for that at that moment? Like, how do you get to?
Watching a lot of film, a lot of researching on the computer, like looking up stats, trying to get the big picture of the team. And then usually you get to talk to the coaches as well. So, like, getting to talk to the coaches, asking them questions that you have in their point of view, like what they're seeing, talking to other analysts, talking to, maybe alum who have been following that team closely. So, a lot of it is using your
Mm,
connections as well in the sport and, knowing what questions to ask, but also doing your own homework at home when you're off the clock, right? Watching a lot of softball, keeping up with everything that's going on, records that people are close to breaking, just a bunch of, program stuff that happens as well. So, most of it is like you don't really have a specific script or anything that you're supposed to
mhm,
say when you go in, but they'll give you a topic and they'll be like, "Hey, you got 2 minutes to talk about this." And you're like, "Cool, let's do it." And you talk about what you see and then you
mhm.
figure it out. So once you find a good rhythm, it becomes a little bit easier to figure out what you want to look up and what you're looking for. But it's a lot of prep. It's a lot of prep that people
I
don't
bet.
see.
I bet.
So many softball
Yes,
games.
yes, that's what I'm saying. And you play a lot of games, and it's like, okay, you might have this team one day, this team the next day, this
That's
team, and
right.
or do you call if you call a game, do you call like the whole series, or you might just have one or two games out of that series?
Well, at the beginning of the season, it's a lot of tournaments. So you're only
Mm,
playing one team once a weekend, and then you don't see them ever again. So it's like, gotta find that happy medium of like, how much should I research for one game versus how much am I researching for 3 games?
mhm.
So it varies from series to series, weekend to weekend. If a linear game is coming in, or if it's just the school's production, it's a lot of things.
That goes into it. Oh.
Oh, a lot of things. A lot of things.
Oh wow. Yeah, I don't know if I'll be able to do something. I'm gonna stick to doing the podcast. I like
There
this.
you go. There you go.
I mean, I still have to do my research, on
Yeah, that's
certain
true.
players. So I mean, people. So I mean, but I mean, I don't have to do as much research as you would have to do because I have to do research for one person. You have to do research for how many girls on each
Oh
team.
my gosh. So
Then the
many
ones
girls.
that maybe didn't play last game, they might play this game. So you got to, you
Yep.
can't just be like, oh well, she didn't play last game. I don't have to, the last two games, so I might have to
You
do
gotta
no
figure it
research on
out.
her.
You better
Yeah, and then
learn.
boom, she's in the game. Oh crap.
Right, exactly. No, it's a lot. It's a lot of, chess pieces moving around at one time.
Mhm. Yeah, no. What excites you the most about the future of softball, like as in player development and the growth of the sport as a whole?
I would say probably the ability that we can make money playing professionally now and
Mhm.
getting to a point where if you wanted to make softball your only job and your only focus, that you would have the salary to be able to do that and provide a life for yourself, not having to have more than one job. Like, I think all the time people are like, "Oh, well, MLB players do this and they do that." And I'm like, "Well, we ain't making that MLB kind of money to do
Right.
that either." So, having to find a balance right now between, fueling your body correctly and working out and doing all the things you need to do, it's feasible, but it's a lot tougher. obviously, if you were making millions and millions of dollars, I would be blowing that money on myself, like, spending it to prepare myself and get
Mhm.
myself in a good place, but I'm looking forward to just, like, our sport, the growth of it, to where women can play the game and be athletes as long as they wanna be until their body tells them, not until their bank account does.
Mm. Yeah, that's a good take right there. That's a very good take. Do it till your body say no more.
Right.
hmm
We can
Would
only
you
hope.
ever be a select softball coach?
Mm, I don't wanna say never because you never know what could happen,
hmm
but I don't see myself going that route. I think, for me, I enjoy coaching, but I enjoy my time more.
hmm
And, obviously, it's different, I feel like if you have kids and they're in the sport, but, like, for me, I don't have anything that's calling me to the select world, and if I did, it would be, like, to go practice with them. So, like, right now, it's not even close to being on my mind because I don't have time for it,
hmm
but, I mean, who knows? Maybe in the future, maybe if I have a kid or 2 and they wanna play softball, who knows? Maybe I'll find myself being the head coach or
Yeah,
something, but
yeah.
I'm just like, I like to watch the game from afar, just
hmm
check it out, and it's a lot of responsibility to be a coach. There's a lot
Oh,
more
yeah.
than you have to do than just teach the
hmm
game, and I know those struggles, and I'm like, I know how tough I was to coach, so I'm like, all of us being young girls, I'm like, kudos to anyone that does it because it's a tough job.
Yep.
Teaching girls and showing them the way and how to be a good person and a good teammate, it's tough, it's tough.
Yeah, trust me, I see it from the other side of the fence, though.
Oh, yeah. Oh,
I
yeah.
I like my side of the fence. We the best coaches over there on the other side of the fence.
There you go. There you go. Yeah, those ones always seem to be the loudest too.
Yep. Yep. Hey, we know everything, and we're always right in our
That's
minds.
right. There you go.
Mhm.
Just in yours.
Yeah, exactly. So I see you. So you're a Marucci athlete.
Mhm.
What was the feeling like being chosen to be a Marucci athlete, and how does it feel? Also to be able to promote something like that.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's kind of part of the professional landscape is, to find a company that you feel like you like their stuff, you like their message, you like their mission and what they're doing for the game. And for me, I grew up, my brother was always using Marucci leather and Marucci bats. And I always knew that they had top tier leather. So I was very interested to see the gloves when they started making their move into softball fast pitch. And yeah, I'm really particular about my bats. Like, I have to have a two-piece bat, and I have to have a lot of flex. Like, I can't have a stiff bat, it just doesn't work for my swing. So knowing that, I actually have to figure that out first, right? So I was a
Mhm.
pro for a couple years before I realized that that's what I needed, and then by that time, I'm like, "Oh, okay, well, like, I like Marucci, what they're doing." So actually, I reached out to them, and I was like, "Hey, I'm really interested, like, in y'all's equipment. Like, I'd love to discuss like where we could take this, and it just so happened that it was the best thing for both of us. So it was great. And honestly, that is half of the battle is finding equipment, at a
Mhm.
price that either you can afford or free if they send it to you. So being partnered with them not only for the equipment side, but also what they're doing for the game in general, what the type of products they're developing, they're listening to their athletes, like what do they want, what do they need, what do they like, different things like that. So it's always a pleasure to work with Marucci. I love them so much. They're great people. They put out great products and they take really good care of us. And they're putting a lot of time and effort into the softball fast pitch side now. So it's really exciting to like be a part of that and be kind of like the first group to really get Marucci going on the fast pitch side and make them a name that's going to stay a long time in the sport.
Okay. So growing up, I mean, I don't know if they had. Well, I'm pretty sure they didn't have professional softball while you was growing up. But once you heard about the professional part of softball coming along, did you think at that time that you would be playing, that you would be able to play professional softball?
From like a talent standpoint, yeah, like I knew that I could play at the next level. Like For me, I'm not a person that could thinks like, "Oh, I can't do that," or like,
Mhm.
I won't get or I'm not good enough." Like, that's never been a thought of mine. Like, I always knew it would happen, and that was because I've proven it to myself in every level that I had played in. Like, I was one of the best. So,
Mhm.
why would I not think that I could?
Mhm.
But at the same time, like, it was a lot different back then. Like, pro softball wasn't talked about a lot.
Right.
And so it wasn't like my first mission out of school was to play pro, but I was already kind of involved on the international circuit. So technically I was a pro like as soon as I graduated because I
Mhm.
was making money, a little bit of money from Team Mexico a couple years in. And so I would say my senior year, like I really thought about it because there was a draft, but I didn't get drafted. I ended up playing for
Scrapyard dogs.
Scrapyard Dogs, yeah, that sounds like
Mhm.
what was it? Scrapyard Dogs, um, as kind of like a free agent type situation, and it was because of, like, the Mexico connection and, me not having a job lined up in the fall, like, immediately, like, some people do have that lined up, and that's great, but, like, I knew I wanted to broadcast, so, like, I knew I was gonna call the games in the spring, I just didn't know
Mhm.
what I would do, in the summers in between Mexico, so I was able to do both, which was really great. And that's how it kind of like started, which was an unconventional start, I think, because most people you kind of know when you get drafted, like you're either going to play or not. But for me, it was a
Mhm.
little bit up in the air until I signed with Scrapyard. And then it was kind of like, oh, okay, like this could work out for a little bit. Like I could play for a couple years.
Mhm. Yeah, we
And here
played
we
the
are.
scrapyard a good amount. We played the scrapyard a lot.
Oh, okay. There
Yeah,
you go.
we played tournaments there. It's very, very nice facility.
Oh,
Like they
very
got,
nice.
man, one, two, I don't know, probably like 10 fields
So
over there
many.
now. Yeah,
Oh,
exactly.
yeah.
And oh, that's enough space. Put the bases up, the lines.
There you
It's a
go.
field now. If it wasn't a field, it's a field now.
Right. They'll figure it
Mhm.
out.
Yeah. So now I'm pretty sure you do, but do you interact like with fans, after the games?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. We always have like autograph lines that we go
Mhm.
through and we talk to people that come out and sometimes it's hard to put on a face. You just get run ruled in a game or you strike out 3 times in a
Right.
row and you're just like last thing I want to go do is smile and be happy, but sometimes that's the only time someone is ever going to get to watch you play. And like maybe
Mhm.
they came all the way that day to watch you, or maybe there's a kid that wasn't having a good time, you say hi, I hope you had a good time today, and they had the best day ever. So
Mhm.
it's all about perspective and realizing that it's just a game. It's
Mhm.
just a game. You gotta calm down,
Yeah.
and that it's bigger than just me. It's
Mhm.
about the sport and encouraging the community, especially the young girls.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. Like you said, it's man, you just lost, blown out or something, didn't do good. And now you when you open the
Tough.
door, you just see a bunch of little kids and it's like, oh man.
Oh gosh. Yeah, sometimes it's really hard, and you can't let that on, right? You gotta just, like, keep a smile on your
Yeah.
face and be like,
Hmm.
"Hi, yeah, thanks for coming." It's
Hmm.
tough, but you get used to it.
Oh, I bet, because we had went to a now my daughter, she's a Florida, she liked Florida, and we had went to an A&M in Florida game, and A&M had, man, it was a slaughter out there. A&M tore the brakes off, and
Hey,
she was
sometimes it be like that, you know?
yeah, and then she, oh, I want to go get the autographs from them, and I'm like, man, they don't want to talk to you. Like they just lost. Like it wasn't even a close game. Like I don't think they want to talk. But she was like, she's so much a fan. Like her glove is the Florida colors. Like her
Yeah,
godfather got a glove of the Florida colors. She had the shirt on and
yeah.
everything. So the fans was taking like, oh man, we don't come to Texas that much and get a Florida fan. So they was there taking pictures with her. They took her in
Oh,
front of the
yeah, they
Florida
love it.
bus.
It's always
Y-
nice.
Yeah, and but me, I'm like, oh man, look, I'm gonna be the last one out the locker room. Yeah. Hopefully everybody gone by the time I come out of this locker room.
Oh
But
gosh.
I mean, they like you
Yeah,
said, they embraced her, and I mean, not only her, it was a lot of little girls out there, which is
yeah, oh,
always a
yeah.
good thing to see.
Great thing, great thing.
Hmm. So let's say you were just hypothetical that you were a coach and this is your first year doing this, first season, and you coaching a 12U team, all right? And would you come out and just blankly tell them like, I'm not here to be your friend. You probably won't like me at the end of the season. Is that things that you should tell kids that really have love for the game?
I mean, I feel like it's different because, like, what I would say would be different than what you would say, right? Because
Hmm.
you're also a man, and you're never gonna connect the same way that I can
You're
connect
right.
with little girls. So,
Hmm.
but I think no, I don't think you should say that you shouldn't like me because at the end of the day, they should not like you, but they should respect you and like want to hear your perspective because you treat them well and because you teach the game in a way that is not demeaning. Like a lot of
Hmm.
times people think that coaching is coaching at someone, and to coach is to connect. And when you're connecting and you're understanding, like I was saying with the thought process of, how is your body relating this movement to this thought? And how is this thought coming out as as a movement in your body? And like understanding how each person is so individual in that you're never going to be able to teach the same way to two different kids because we're all so different. Our brains work differently, our bodies work differently, they move differently. So having it only one way and being very like a dictator is only going to make them afraid of you and not trust you. So whenever you're coaching, the number one goal should be trust and should be comfort, because if they can't truly trust you and feel comfortable with you, they will never reach their full potential because they're too
Hmm.
scared of whatever it is, the reaction that the coach may give. So I would just say, like, it's okay to mess up. Like, I'm not asking you to be perfect. You're not asking me to be perfect. We're here to learn together. Like, I want to teach you as much as I know about the game. And I want to make sure that, we're both in it for the right reasons and
Hmm.
we're comfortable around each other and that they also feel comfortable speaking up. Like,
Yeah.
because as a student of the game, you should feel just as acknowledged whenever you have a question or whenever you're asking for explanation because they are learning the game at the end of the day. Like if they ask why, they're not challenging you. They're just
Hmm.
asking why. Like,
Yeah.
why is this happening? Why is this the right way? Like once they have the answer, then they'll be able to put it together and probably
Hmm.
do it right a lot more times because they want to do it right, not because you're telling them to do it right. So
Hmm.
I think intention can be a lot different than outcome. A
Yeah.
lot of times. It depends on the way you're talking to the girls and how
Hmm.
you're connecting with them and inspiring them, but respecting them as well. They're also humans who deserve respect.
Yeah. No, yep, I agree. I agree with that answer. And it's not me, by the way. I don't coach.
No,
I'm not
yeah.
good.
I just use you as an example.
Oh man, just okay. It's
Just because you're
fine. It's
here.
fine.
Just because you're here.
Yeah, yeah. No. What
I've got
advice would? Uh-huh.
I was just gonna say I've got time for like two more questions and then I've got to jump off.
Okay, all right. What's some advice you would give your younger self?
Ooh. Don't be afraid to fail. I think I, wanted to do everything the right way and find the right process or the right words or the right actions to do something. And a lot of times, the only way to learn or the best way to learn is to fail and to learn the lesson so that moving forward, you don't do it again. I felt like a long time I tried to like do it right every single time and didn't
Hmm.
allow myself to truly be like and exist and do what I needed to do to be a kid and to have fun and learn along the way, whereas a lot of times I felt like I was almost buttoning my shirt up and doing my tie for work like I was a young adult, like going to work and doing all these things, but I was just a kid, so I wish I would have given myself more freedom to, like, explore and do things when I was little and fail and be bad at them, not feel like I had to be perfect at the very beginning.
Hmm. Okay. Okay. If you can tell a young athlete one thing during recruitment, what would it be?
Ooh, do your research. I
Hmm.
would say a lot of times you can get kind of like rose-colored glasses because you're so in awe of being on a college visit and getting offered a scholarship and, being a high level school or whatever it may be, whatever impresses you, but learn about what that coach is like behind closed doors. Like, ask some
Mhm.
players that have been there, ask some players that have left there, what are their experiences? Um, because a lot of times people are putting on their best face for you for recruiting, and that's just
Yeah.
the way it is because
Mhm.
obviously they're trying to charm you. But
Mhm.
that's not the way things happen, or the way things happen once season starts. They're not there to be your friend and try to impress you. They're trying to win a national championship. So um, yeah, do your research and really understand like why you're picking a school. So I would say create your criteria of what you would want from a school first, and then see if that school fits those points instead of the other way around.
Mhm.
And then I
Okay.
feel like that mixed with, like, your intuition of feeling like, "Oh, this is the place for me," those 2 usually won't steer you wrong.
Okay.
Usually.
No. Yeah, that's right. My final question that I have is who would you like to see on the podcast? But your answer you would have to help me get them on the podcast.
Um, I don't know, let's see. I've got a lot of options to go
A
through,
whole lot of
in my
options.
head.
59 to be exact.
More than that, probably.
Okay.
Honestly, my friend Jessie that I was talking about earlier in the podcast, she's great. She's had such a different experience than me that it's nice to, like, see different perspectives and understand, like, we're both at an elite level, but we got there in different ways, and we have different
Mhm.
mindsets and how we play the game and different positions and, just different people, so and she's great. She does a lot of, like, lessons and coaching on that aspect and has enjoyed that side of the game, so we're different in that aspect. She loves to coach, loves to help, but yeah, she's great. She's pretty badass, if I do say so myself.
Okay, well, I really appreciate you for giving me your time and being on my little old podcast. Yeah, for being on
Yeah,
the
of course. Thanks
podcast.
for having me.
Shout out Tyler. He the one that reached out to you, reached out, told me
LP.
to reach out. so I mean, it's always good to get knowledge from somebody of your caliber. So I really appreciate you for being on the podcast.
Thank you so much. I had a great time chatting with you.
All right, all right. Have a good one.
All right. See ya.
All right. All right, y'all. There we have it. Tori Vidales. Hopefully I said that right again. But I forgot to say it at the beginning. I want to thank my sponsors, Steve Aguado for the banner. And y'all see my wife, she hooked up, put the chain up there. Y'all holler at Justin Womack, Garage Factory for the chains. Thank to both of those guys for hooking me up, having me, right for the podcast, and having me right for the tournament. Everybody that was there watching, I appreciate it. Thanks to all my supporters. Make sure y'all hit the like, hit the subscribe button, and once the video come out live, make sure y'all share it. Everybody have a good one.